Who makes history? Who creatively interprets human civilization? If you had 5 years to complete something, what would it be? His plan is to create an innovative design, one embodying Chinese culture. It must be built and operating in 5 years. Will he succeed?
如果將來呢個建築要有一個價值咧，一定要係一個當今時代嘅產品，係需要一個形象咧，係去引起人哋有個聯想，係同中國傳統士人文化有關。
He and his team hope to establish a museum of international influence in Hong Kong. Can they accomplish this goal?
故宮文化其實係我哋中華5000年文明嘅載體。我哋要用一啲用新嘅科技啦、新嘅演繹去解釋呢啲文物，以至到產生共鳴。呢個係我哋好主要嘅目的。
Less than 1,000 days for him and his co-workers to build a museum from scratch. How will they do it?
新的故宫建成以后呢，也是整个维港的一个新的地标吧。
Together, they will deploy the latest technology to complete this historic mission. Let's join them and witness the birth of the Hong Kong Palace Museum. On July 3, 2022, the Hong Kong Palace Museum officially opened to the public. 914 precious cultural relics from the Palace Museum in Beijing were ready to greet visitors from near and far. It was the largest collection that had ever been lent out by the Palace Museum in Beijing for outside exhibition.
有人问为什么香港需要有一个故宫文化博物馆？回归现在已经25年，故宫的文物是我们中华民族5000年的这个精粹。那么文化艺术文物是一个非常好的载体，来做一个教育。所以从一个文化的资源的角度，或者是一个建立丰富旅游资源的角度，都希望有一个故宮文化博物館。
對於香港本土，尤其是香港嘅年青人咧，其實都好重要嘅一個角色喺度。將來佢哋會嚟到呢度，我哋有個導賞團，俾佢哋啲學生嚟去認識下即係中國嘅文化。
香港是一個非常國際化的城市，多元包容的城市。同時，我們也可以利用這個平台，把我們很豐富的中華文化走出去。
我覺得更重要的是，能夠透過香港這樣一個國際交流的這樣一個大的平台，能夠實現中華文化跟其他的文化的一種對話。同時呢，也會為香港金融中心、貿易中心、航運中心的建設，我覺得是一種屬於一種文化的。
A brand new Palace Museum is born in Hong Kong. Facing Victoria Harbour, it is a 45-metre-tall, 7-storied building with 9 exhibition galleries. 3 modern atriums connect the different floors of the museum vertically, referencing the horizontal spatial configuration along the central axis of the Forbidden City. The classic Red Gate and water channel, and 4,022 golden aluminium panels for the exterior walls echo the key elements of the Palace Museum in Beijing. More than 6,800 metal pieces of ceiling pendants, 15-metre-high glass floor-to-ceiling windows, and 11,000 square metres of walls decorated with fair-faced concrete testify to Hong Kong's unique modern architecture. It all began in the fall of 2015, when the Palace Museum in Beijing received a group of guests from Hong Kong who were to attend an international event. Carrie Lam, then Chief Secretary for the Administration of Hong Kong, and chairman of the West Kowloon Cultural District Authority, was among the group. After the event, just before they left Beijing, something unexpected happened.
我跟他在故宫里边走，可能当时已经没有什么游客，很宁静的环境我们走在一起，他就问，他说林太太，香港有没有地？
It was Shan Jixiang, the then director of the Palace Museum, who proposed the idea to carry a lamb. Louis Ng, who would become the new museum's director, was also present to witness the historical moment.
应该是单院长提出，能不能我们这个合作永久的，能不能在香港有机会成立一个香港故宫这个项目啊？
说能不能建一个像展示故宫文化的博物馆？故宫呢是全世界收藏中国文物藏品最丰富的一个博物馆，所以到香港对于提升香港的文化地位、提升香港的文化影响力，使香港的辐射能力更强，这些方面我认为也是非常重要的一个方面。所以这是一个双赢。
因为我们这个特区政府非常的大手笔，把40万平方米的这个临海的这个西九龙的地，就打造一个文化区，所以我说我们有地啊。
这就回到香港，我这个时候第一时间我就打电话给冯清淑仪。 他就现在这个西九管理区这个总裁，我说冯太有件事情我們可能要趕快要去規劃一下啦。
當時我最記得最多人問我就話：香港係一個文化沙漠嚟嘅喎，你搞唔起㗎啦。
當時2015年底到2016年，我說建香港故宮文化博物館有天時、地利、人和。我覺得要是在西九文化區有一個 现代的博物馆，是 M+ 的博物馆，但同时有一个非常古代的展示古代文物的博物馆，这个就是能达到一个叫相得益彰的这个效果。
The world-renowned financial hub, Hong Kong, was seeking new development opportunities when it established the West Kowloon Cultural District, an international arts and cultural community right next to the International Finance Centre and Victoria Harbour. To that end, at the beginning of 2016, the West Kowloon Cultural District set up a team of 5 to begin preparations. In December 2016, the Hong Kong SAR government officially announced in Beijing that the Hong Kong Palace Museum would be located in the West Kowloon Cultural District. Hong Kong would soon have a new cultural and artistic landmark. The next task was to choose an architect for the project. A well-known architect in Hong Kong, Rocco Yim has worked on the designs of some of the city's greatest landmarks, including the International Finance Centre and Hong Kong Government Headquarters, in addition to the Yunnan Provincial Museum and the Guangdong Provincial Museum. In 2017, he took on the new challenge of the Hong Kong Palace Museum.
大家都知道咧，施工期咧係相對緊張，設計期亦都相對緊張。 其實一個博物館由設計開始到完工5年到6年，其實真係好少有嘅。咁呢個曾經試過係有好幾個禮拜咧，其實諗唔到係點做。
Faced with a challenging design task, Rocco Yim retained his customary poise and calm. There was no way he was going to let the pressure get to him.
痛苦成日都係痛苦㗎啦，即係當你心大心細，有時又要考慮造價啦，考慮施工難度啦，亦都要考慮唔同嘅方位，你睇落去個唔同嘅感受。
To ensure that the Hong Kong Palace Museum really would become a classic of the future, Rocco visited the Palace Museums in both Beijing and Taipei, seeking inspiration.
北京故宮其實本身係一個展品，佢係 幾百年前嘅建築係當時嗰個時代嘅建築，咁所以佢有個永恆嘅價值喺度。香港古文化博物館咧，如果將來呢個建築要有一個價值咧，一定要係一個當今時代嘅產品。咁所以咧，佢係一個現代化嘅建築。所以從來咧冇諗過香港古文化博物館要似北京故宮。咁而香港古文化博物館，我覺得係需要一個形象咧，係去引起人哋有個聯想，係同中國傳統市民文化有關嘅。
The Forbidden City in Beijing is the largest and best preserved ancient Chinese palace complex in the world, the finest example of traditional Chinese architecture.
北京紫禁城它的整个规划布局，依据的是《周礼考工记》里的记载，前朝后世、左祖右社，包括三朝五门这么一个大的一个规划理念，从它的宫城到皇城。到整个大的北京城这么一个规划都是这样子的。那么从紫禁城来说的话，它的中轴线啊，它的左右对称等等，都是按照这么一个规划理念来发展出来的。
Rocco Yim did not intend to create a replica of the Forbidden City, but a reinterpretation and presentation of the Palace Museum based on his understanding of traditional Chinese culture. Therefore, he carefully observed the collections of the Palace Museum in Beijing and used lines and forms emblematic of Chinese culture and its unique aesthetic in his innovative design for the Hong Kong Palace Museum. In Chinese calligraphy, he saw an unrestrained, flowing and orderly beauty. In these tiles, he saw special textures and colors. In these porcelains, he saw implicit splendor. In the layout of the Forbidden City itself, he saw the traditional preference for the numbers 3 and 9, which inspired him to design the Hong Kong Palace Museum in the form of 3 atriums and 9 exhibition galleries with an upward spiraling ceiling symbolizing endless life.
咁入到裏邊中庭個天花睇落就好似故宮屋頂個瓦片，尤其一入去就係好工整嘅一個模型。但一去到升上去第二個中庭個空間嗰度咧，成個瓦片就飄起，飄到上另外一層。咁同樣嘅瓦片去到最頂一層中庭喺個天窗嗰度咧，就變咗好似輕紗咁，等個天然光可以滲入去，似一塊好似冇重量嘅布幕咁樣上咗去。
In addition to artistic considerations, Rocco Yim had to take into account modernity, safety, durability, and environmental friendliness. Regarding the museum as a treasure house of cultural relics and a window from which to review history, Rocco Yim and his team adopted a special kind of steel for the facade with a deliberate layer of rust to simulate the traces of time. For the museum's external structure, if it is made of ordinary low-carbon steel, sea salt particles in the air will accelerate its oxidation and weaken its bearing capacity. In response, the design team increased the thickness of galvanized coating from the usual 50 to 75 microns to 140 microns.
做不鏽鋼定還是做 GMS 㗎嘛？
即係種入個石之牆，
種入去嗰度。結果我哋就希望可以慳翻啲錢啦。咁同埋亦都根據個顧問嘅報告咧，佢呢度就特別做厚咗嗰個 GMS 嗰個 coating， 由85 micron 變到140個 micron。85就平均壽命20年到啦，140嘅話可以捱到去70幾年嘅，70幾至100年。
係咁喺海邊3面圍海，驚唔驚？
所以我哋要求個工程師加厚嗰個上面嗰個導升嗰個厚度，140 mil。
Moreover, the team strengthened the steel by adjusting the proportions of nickel and chromium contained within it to lessen the corroding effect of wind from the sea on the building, improving its stability and enabling it to stand the test of time. During the process of creating the museum, the design team, the construction team, and the West Kowloon Cultural District Authority sometimes had different ideas about how they wanted the project to be. That's one reason why the design team used modern technologies to build 3D models, so they could conduct numerous simulation tests concerning the materials to be used and the appearance of the building. In this way, it was possible for them to iron out their differences via discussion and negotiation.
呢度所以成個其實係個光係會出嚟靚，個光出嚟靚。
Louis Ng hopes to utilize natural light to achieve special light effects in the interior of the museum, but too much natural light may harm the cultural relics.
当然大家有不同这个求同存异嘛。当然这就是很多希望都是能不能跟外界自然光多一些接触。我们这个考虑就是，当然第一就是文物保护了。 很多我们故宫的文物都不能用自然光，纸张、丝绸之类的不能上自然光，所以这个光线对他们来说是一个很大的一个伤害。因为这些文物有时候是几百年，有时可能是超过1000年，我们要好好保护它。
Striking a balance between practicality and artistry was a major challenge for Rocco Yim. In the end, he managed to create a unique museum space while simultaneously guaranteeing the safety of the cultural relics.
所以我哋做咗3個中庭係搭高嘅，就令到人入到去一眼唔會睇晒，你會覺得好似上面另有洞天，咁而引起你嘅好奇心咁向上。咁而我哋亦都利用咗香港城市嘅特色，就係話唔同方向我哋有好唔同嘅景觀嘅，東西軸線對住入去第一個中庭咧，再上一個咧就向咗南邊，睇到成個香港城市嘅建制線，睇到維港，跟住再上一層嘅中庭咧，就向翻西邊睇到大嶼山。
The realization of the architect's creative concepts would require a huge and superbly qualified construction team. So it was that China State Construction Engineering Hong Kong Limited undertook the construction of the Hong Kong Palace Museum. With a budget of 2.2 billion Hong Kong dollars, they organized a professional management team of over 100 people and more than 1,000 engineering and technical personnel, creating museum models using building information modeling technology.
我们将建筑信息模型，也就是我们称谓的比姆技术，应用在了香港故宫建设的全过程，从图纸设计开始，到工厂生产，再到现场施工，从方案的模拟到进度计划的模拟、施工检验等，都实现了比姆模型的全过程的控制与出图。同时，我们在工地上利用了智慧工地系统。 我们称作为 C-Smart 系统，它可以从施工进度、安全、环保、质量管理等方面进一步优化流程。
BIM penetrated every corner of the building and every transformation of a design drawing to an actual architectural item. Besides 3D modeling, 4D construction simulation, VR, AR, laser scanning, all these latest technologies were applied to facilitate the construction.
香港出現第一宗新型肺炎高度懷疑個案，預計聽日會有最後結果。個患者正係喺瑪嘉烈醫院隔離治療。
with the identification of the first COVID-19 cases in Hong Kong in January 2020, the project ran up against a new, seemingly insurmountable obstacle.
这个疫情发展，我们就怕如果有一个工地有一个人出问题的话，整個工地就會封起來，可能有幾個禮拜，很麻煩。
我同阿 Jun 就負責噴寫字樓，咁阿蘭姐、日姐咧就負責噴啲架步。
As the pandemic raged globally, for the workers, meeting the construction deadline of December 2021 became a race against time. Shortages of concrete supply, suspension of steel structure production, and obstruction to transportation of decoration materials were just some of the problems they had to contend with as the pandemic took hold. However, strict epidemic prevention measures and planning allowed work to go forward efficiently and scientifically without any need for a shutdown.
香港故宫2年8个月的建设期，超过一半的时间是处于疫情期。同时呢，香港故宫的建设工艺要求特别高，为实现上宽下巨、顶虚底实的建筑造型，外墙使用了倾斜度高达1:3的清水混凝土结构。
清水混凝土也是这个整个这个项目一个最大的特点之一，也是一个难点。它从这个织模板到这个浇筑的过程，这个每一步呢都要控制的很好，才能保证到最后这个成品一次出来呢就是很完美。将来这个展品都非常珍贵，我们也确保它非常安全的在这个博物馆里面展览、储存、运输。那么整个这一些配套的一些功能上的要求呢，都是要绝对是要100%的满足这个设计的要求。
那机电系统是建筑的什么？
机电啊，机电系统，我觉得是建筑的灵魂。
但是它隐藏在里头。看不到。
是你一个建筑，比如说你在做结构的阶段，平地起楼，那么肯定这个是最基本的了。然后做完结构以后呢，就是外立面，然后里边的这些间隔一些粗装修到精装修。那么我们入了设备，有了这个电，有了水，整个这个建筑才有生命，人才能住。我想跟古代建筑最大的区别就是这个机电设备了。
More than 600 years ago, when the Forbidden City was built in Beijing, there was no modern electromechanical equipment such as air conditioning or lighting, nor was there running water or electronic security monitoring. But this brand new palace museum is equipped with 21st century technology. Especially notable is its unique system for maintaining constant temperature and humidity. The average temperature has to be 20 degrees Celsius, with any fluctuations not exceeding 2 degrees. Average humidity must be maintained at 55%, with only 5% fluctuation allowed. This is the underground system that lies at the very heart of the Hong Kong Palace Museum. It's the control center for the constant temperature and humidity system upon which the daily operation of the museum depends. The whole museum, covering an area of more than 40,000 square meters, as large as almost 6 standard football fields, has extremely high requirements. Its air conditioning system has the cooling power of 2,800 household air conditioners.
它的那个湿度控制的系统和我们这个表的上面的系统不能超过2度。
In each exhibition gallery and display case, any change in temperature and humidity will be immediately registered by this central control system, allowing staff to adjust air quality at any time. But above all else, the construction of the Hong Kong Palace Museum was of immense cultural significance. with the construction team striving to execute every detail perfectly. Guarding against flooding was always a top priority for project managers, so the building underwent more than 200 waterproofing tests to identify points and locations where leakage could be an issue.
但这我们发现，我们做完这些动作之后呢，有些部分位置呢还在暴雨或者是风球的情况下，还会出现一些漏水的状况。所以现在这个就等于是我们用一些复杂一点的、麻烦一点的手段去模仿整个暴雨的过程，来測試它這個防水性能是否能達到要求。咁你幫手開個水，我哋做個測試啊。
In response to the individual leakage locations identified after Typhoon Kompasu in 2021, they conducted high-standard extra-long tests involving water volumes, 3 times that of a so-called black rainstorm. The test duration for each location was extended from the standard 5 minutes to 1 hour to ensure thoroughness. This specialized water spray test is used to assess the quality of the fire protection system. Every public building needs to pass such a test during construction.
Because 佢中間安嗰個係，可唔可以俾一個我睇睇？俾一個我。哦，佢哋中間穿過去。係啦。呢個係玻璃嚟㗎。玻璃嚟㗎。你睇到。OK。哦，咁佢中間即係穿咗過嚟之後，呢度就係上翻佢。如果即係一個日頭咧就冇乜大效果嘅，因為啲門開晒啦。係啊。如果夜晚閂一管咧，如果你裏邊着翻少少燈咧，咁佢就會滲啲光出去。所以個隨便你要唔要冇乜所謂嘅。係啦。咁呢個睇一睇嗰個唔會俾人剝啊嘛？拎走佢。咁啊？呢個小心佢有問題。要睇下先啊，睇下有冇法子。係啊，令到唔可以俾人扭。係啊。呢個有咩方法咧？最主要係出邊嗰度嘅。
Red doors and transparent glass door studs are another visual highlight of this museum. 10 doors are installed at the entrance, with each door having 81 studs, making a total of 810. In the Palace Museum in Beijing, the doors of the Meridian Gate have the same pattern.
你看这个门钉啊，午门这门钉就是，它一共是9981个。这9981个是什么呢？就是叫9路9颗。就是什么是路呢？就是1路、2路、3路。一直往上面9路，然后呢，每一路有9颗，这是9981。中国这种传统的这种礼制文化，对吧？9是一个最大的这么一个阳数，所以呢，这个9981颗它有一个这么一个规制的要求。
廁所匙嘅咋，試完就整一抽俾我哋走，咁你揾多兄弟上嚟啦，係嘛？
有，我咁大個兄弟喺度。
得啦。咁啊，我哋係首先咧係我哋自己 check 過一次嘅，即係中間我哋又準備 ready， 之後咧就同佢哋咧做一次驗收。啊，咁啊，我哋今日咧就交鎖匙俾佢哋。
首先就第一次試量咪落晒。OK， 有冇一啲異常嘅聲音？個速度係咪唔正常？明唔明啊？有時講咁，可能佢裏邊有啲嘢鬆咗，諸如此類。
其實主要我哋天地牆啦，先 check 下天花啦，有冇咩特別嘅遺漏啊、缺陷啊，牆身睇下平整啦、滑唔滑啦，因為油漆係咪？
呢個我哋叫 full box。
呢個好特別嘅。
將來呢啲展櫃咧就係呢啲位置，呢個俾電。咁呢度咧就要求佢一平咯。同埋咧就可以 即係可以 check 翻嗰啲電咯。咁呢個9個展廳咧交咗7個，依家剩低呢2個咧，就今日交埋。冇錯。交埋之後咧，所有展廳就交晒。
On December the 20th, 2021, the construction team delivered all exhibition galleries for the Hong Kong Palace Museum. Soon afterwards, on January the 28th, 2022, the whole building would also be completed. And so it is that a new landmark building in Hong Kong has appeared in the West Kowloon Cultural District. These golden facades consist of 4,022 curved aluminium panels, supported by 598 brackets and 1,200 backing fixtures, and are designed to withstand the unique weather conditions of Hong Kong, namely typhoons and rainstorms. Each metal piece has a different curve, making each and every tile a standalone work of art in its own right. Only 2 months until the grand opening. Time for the workers to perfect the newly added designs and improve the quality of the overall building. A brand new museum gradually taking shape. Time for Rocco Yim to make a final inspection of the finished parts of the museum with the director. It was absolutely vital for the light effects to be assessed before the grand opening and for them to check the general readiness of the museum.
呢度有3盞咋，呢個有3盞，而家開始，係啊，呢邊未到啊嘛。
呢邊其實 OK 嘅，呢邊其實。如果你而家今日天陰咧，呢邊其實 OK。我唔想呢個牆咧，成個牆係光晒。
係啊，我就想講綠盞射多啲中間嗰埲。嗰個位，就唔需要射 escalator 前邊嗰個，嗰度已經夠晒啦。
啱。出邊光，我成日都講翻，光同暗嗰個咧，嗰個如果係太暗咧，嗰個對比係唔舒服，同埋出邊入嚟嗰度咧。
Imagine 兩邊就啱兩個名啦，中文英文。故宮出嚟。
It took less than 1,000 days for the museum to be completed. Now, the architect and the project leader are together again. What was once just a blueprint is now a huge building. All that's left now is to discuss the finishing touches to the museum.
整5年啦
，6年，差唔多6年
啦，即係包埋前期。
係啊，包埋前期。做個博物館嚟講係算短嘅，呢個我唔係好擔心，呢個應該冇問題嘅，係照上嗰個。即係天窗嗰
呢幾座係嘛？
呢
幾座係嘛？
係啦，
幫埋呢度之前話加嗰啲貼紙啦，都加
晒啦，係咪？嗰個幾好出到嚟。呢度咧本嚟仲有啲問題嘅，就係嗰條燈帶咧就露晒出嚟。
你呢個起完之後咧，擺好多年，係咪？即係50年、100年，
唔輕易再嚟去搞去修理，唔係即係冇乜機會去執㗎。
係啦，一次就搞掂。
係啊，
一次搞掂。
建築係成個城市一部分，所以建築對我嚟講，永遠唔可以係自我中心，佢係要顧及佢對城市嘅影響啦。而建築最終係人用嘅，咁所以人喺建築裏面嘅感受，始終係決定呢個建築嗰個恒久嘅價值係去到邊度。
In 5 years, starting from scratch, everyone in the team was dedicated to a common goal, racing against time to complete this historic task. This dream started with a few people and gradually involved a few hundreds and a few thousands. A museum finally came into being in the West Kowloon Cultural District as scheduled, surrounded by sea on 3 sides, facing Victoria Harbour and endowed with a very special and evocative name, Palace Museum.
唔係細個間到，係反嚟第二間，因為
但是我们这个要做什么，这个要先学。
要是万紫千红跟饮食文化，两个选一个。
我觉得好看的其实万紫千红还是比较好看，但是呢，从 popular 从它这个观众啊，香港观众本土它的。
这样吧，这样你就两个方案。
December 10th, 2021 was a very important day for all the staff of the Hong Kong Palace Museum. The day they moved out of their temporary office and into their permanent home in the new museum. Less than 200 days to go before the scheduled opening of the museum.
兴奋，非常非常兴奋，就是终于能到馆里头工作了。这个回想到5年前，我最多站在这里的时候，这里什么都没有。我们挑了这个地方，跟我们同事一起说，我们的馆建在这里吧。然后慢慢在过去4年，慢慢看到它从一层一层盖起来，今天终于可能可以搬进去。
As a Cantonese cultural region of China, Hong Kong has many traditional customs. When a family or an institution moves into a new place, a ceremony is often held to mark a new and happy beginning.
2 major museums in the year. We're probably the only place in the world that has ever done that.
And I've noticed the vitality, the energy that all of you are projecting, and which is wonderful.
The construction team had successively delivered all the 9 galleries and public spaces of the building. Now their most urgent task was to improve the equipment installations in all galleries so as to be fully prepared for the arrival of the treasures from the Palace Museum in Beijing.
Yeah, we are installing the wall cases. This is a special showcases, and the guys now make a regulation for the opening of the glass door.
They are from Italy. The Hong Kong Palace Museum chose them because they are the best in the world. Their display cases are regarded as the safest and most reliable in the whole world. The glass they use is the same as the glass used in the Louvre to protect the Mona Lisa.
This is a special showcases, wall cases. Part of this showcases is the membrane system that we have in the top. The membrane system is control the temperature and the humidity inside of the showcases. We have also a double system that is a passive system with the silica gel. When we have some problem in the electrical blackout or something, we have a double system, and so the silica gel, so the passive system can keep safe the artifacts inside of the showcase.
So why do you use this
for the shock?
For the shock.
Yeah, I do the shock for the showcase for somebody moving in some time. And when you moving this one, the sensor shock switch on. Switch on, give the signal of the central room in the museum.
Thank you. 我们特地从去年开始就在扬州定做了这个手工制作的这个传统大旗桌子，为了我们这个书画修复。这个桌是有3.6米长，应该在香港算是数1数2的手工做的大旗桌子。落多啲過嚟。
攞住先，攞住先，攞一半都唔怕。好，就咁，執開嘢先。158。係啊，總之赤包晒。好。大家包晒。好。可以的
，Thank you。
谢谢你。
因为这个红色呢，对于纸张来说有一个比较强的反差。那么在中国画里面有很多的这个纸是有很多层的，在修复过程中，所以我们用这个红色的大漆桌子是可以看到每一层纸的这个不一样的分层，而且我们可以看到浆糊在纸上的这个均匀程度。所以这个红色大漆桌子可以说是我们传统中国书画修复必不可少的一个工具。
Showcases and multimedia devices begin to be added to the 9 empty galleries.
I know that. And what about that? Does it work or not?
The museum has yet to open, but the workers are still patiently and meticulously polishing every corner, paying attention to every detail. Details that many of the tourists and visitors who come here in the future will doubtless overlook. The 914 items from the Palace Museum in Beijing will arrive here in less than 2 months. For the new Hong Kong Palace Museum, the safety of the treasures and the management of public spaces is top priority. With that in mind, the museum utilizes high-standard security equipment to protect every visitor. With the opening date fast approaching, the security team trained almost every day. Today's training focuses on how to react to an emergency situation in the security check section.
前面咧要保持翻適當嘅禮貌，要嗌翻嚟啫。
個包袱。是頭先你講咗曲巴蒲㗎啦，點解你會曲巴蒲咧？咁其實大家就好容易、好顯淺咁睇到嘅，就係因為其實裡面都已經有，其實咧裏邊解釋翻俾同事睇咧，佢哋嗌曲巴蒲就係因為有啲特別嘅物品發現咗啦，而呢啲物品咧香港嚟講咧應該都係一啲違法嘅嘢嚟嘅，咁我哋就通知翻控制中心，由控制中心通知翻有關嘅人員嚟處理㗎啦。
Tomorrow, they will receive the first batch of treasures from the Palace Museum in Beijing.
鬆一點，鬆一點。
故宫是曾经的明清两代的皇宫，但是今天它的身份已经彻底改变了，它变成了人民的博物馆，这是一个重大的转变。它馆藏的将近200万件这种文物，它承载的是古代劳动人民的一种智慧创造，它记录了我们中华5000年文明不同历史时期的一些人对世界的认识、对人的认识、对社会的认识，所以它是一个5000年文明的一个承载者。是中华优秀传统文化的一个汇聚地。
中华文化有5000多年源远流长的历史，怎么样能够进一步传承下去，更要走出去，向世界展示我们新中国的软实力的。透過香港這個平台，我認為我們是得天獨厚。
香港故宮文化博物館唔係故宮嘅分館，唔需要係一模一樣嘅，而係一定要有佢自己嘅特色。佢嘅特色就係用香港嘅策展嘅方法，用我哋香港策展人嘅視野去策劃呢一個嘅故宮裏邊嘅展覽。所以呢一樣嘢就令到我哋咧係能夠係與眾不同、獨一無二嘅。
香港是一個非常國際化的一個平台。我們故宮博物院一直以來說跟世界上的各大主要博物館都有着非常好的合作啊。那麼未來呢，借助香港故宮這個平台，那麼可以大家開展更多的合作啊。那麼比如文物展覽可以是互換的，也可以是大家就一個主題啊共同來組織一個展覽。比如這次這個馬文化展，就是有我們的藏品，也有盧浮宮的藏品。 类似的合作，我想未来会非常多。
香港故宮文化博物館咧，定位係一間全球性嘅中國文化藝術博物館。我哋會將世界唔同嘅文化帶嚟香港，帶嚟中國。同一時間，我哋亦會將我哋中國文化藝術帶往去世界。咁呢個係我哋一個好重要嘅定位。佢哋除咗可以嚟博物館參觀之外，我哋亦會主動將呢一啲嘅文化藝術帶入社區，帶俾唔同嘅階層啦、唔同嘅地區嘅市民去觀賞。去參與，呢個都係我哋建館嘅目標。
This is a palace museum that is completely redefined. A palace museum that belongs to Hong Kong. In the summer of 2022, this innovation-powered new building receives visitors flowing in to explore ancient paintings, get a taste of the mysterious life of the imperial court, and to enjoy ceramics that date back to the distant past, all presented to a contemporary audience in a truly astonishing way.